Please welcome founder, chairman, and CEO of Operation Hope Incorporated, John Hope Bryant.
Good afternoon. You know, the Bible suggests be hot or be cold. If you're lukewarm, I'll spat you out. Translation: even God doesn't like mediocrity. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
That's both feet in it. President Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ, he was a bad brother. But I don't mean that in some kind of a slang sort of a way. I mean that specifically. I like 4 things about him. Number 1, he was the 20th century public sector architect for civil rights legislation. Number 2, he was the 20th century leading architect in public policy for poverty eradication. Number 3, he had swagger. Think about this now. He had swagger, he had charisma, he could talk, he could preach, he dressed really well, he was smooth. He could put his arm on you and give you the Johnson treatment. He could sort of get you to do what he wanted you to do because it made you feel good to do it. He was so cool. I was thinking backstage, if he was alive today, I'd make him an honorary black man. And he'd like, his daughter said he'd like that. I think he would. I never had a chance to meet him, but I think he would. The 4th thing I liked about him is he understood and respected a different color. An additional color. We talked about black and white today and the last few days. Very important. We've talked indirectly about red and blue. But he understood, like a couple other leaders I really respect, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Ambassador Andrew Young, who just graced this stage, Abraham Lincoln. I'll get to in a moment. He understood another color. That color is green. So whether you're white, black, red, brown, or yellow, you want to see some more green. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
In order to understand President Johnson and how transformational this is, let's go back to 1865. January 1865. Secretary of War Stanton and General Sherman go to Savannah, Georgia, because Atlanta had been burned down in the March to the Sea, to break the confidence of the Confederates, not the enemy lines, to break the confidence of the Confederates. This is important because we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Energy matters. Back to the story. Secretary of War Stanton and General Sherman meet with 20 former slaves, black ministers. What do you want after slavery? Did they say they wanted a welfare program? This is not a trick question. No. Did they say they wanted a handout? No. They said, we want land. We want to do for ourselves. See how easy that was? That wasn't a black answer, a Latino answer, an Asian answer, an Indian answer. It wasn't an African-American answer. It was just an answer. It was just a radical movement of common sense. That led to Field Action 15. You can search everything I'm saying on your smartphone today. Field Action 15 was 400,000 acres from North Carolina down the coast to 30 miles in from the beach to what we call Miami, Florida. It's great land now. We all want some beachfront property. But back then, it wasn't so great. In an agricultural age, it was actually a pretty horrible place to plant. But we didn't complain about it. We didn't whine about it. We didn't argue about it. We took that land. You know, when you plant your crop in the beach, you wake up tomorrow and your crop's in Jamaica. But we've been doing so much with so little for so long, we can almost do anything with nothing. So we didn't complain about it. We got to work. No Snapchat, no Twitter, no Instagram, no Facebook, no cell phones, no modern communication. Somehow, 1,000 former slaves got the memo. Showed up on the land, worked that land so hard, Lucy. General Sherman said, "My God, they're so industrious, give them a mule." Was that a disrespect or was that a compliment? It was a compliment. That was about industriousness. That was like saying today to give a farmer a tractor. It was an investment. Give them a mule. That wasn't 5 years later. That was 1 month later, February of 1865. I heard somebody say earlier, 40 acres and a mule. Here comes March 3rd, 1865. President Abraham Lincoln, after the Emancipation Proclamation, after the worst war on American soil, brother against brother, sister against sister. We don't realize it, but Lincoln's wife had a hard time at Christmas dinner because her brother was a part of the Confederates and had a charge against him to kill Lincoln. I want that to sink in for a minute. Lincoln's wife's brother had a charge to assassinate Abraham Lincoln. That was a difficult dinner at Christmas. Back to the story. March 3rd, 1865, after the Civil War, after the Emancipation Proclamation, Abraham Lincoln sat at his desk and created the Freedmen's Bureau Act. The Freedmen's Bureau Act created the Freedmen's Bank. The Freedmen's Bank's mission, quote, teach freed slaves about money. Think about this now. Let this sink in. He thought the most important thing he could do after the worst war on our soil was to put African Americans into the free enterprise system. Land, machinery, January, February, a bank, a savings vehicle, a tool for capital access, education. What did Johnson once say? People should get as much education as they could possibly handle. A hand up, not a handout, handing out fishing poles at scale. This was Abraham Lincoln in 1865. 3 months that could have reset everything, and Lincoln gets killed the next month. April 1865, for going a bridge too far by promising now the right to vote. By the way, what your father did was an enforcement action. We already had the right to vote. That's a story we don't have time for right now. That came in the 1870s. Back to the story. Who took over the bank when Lincoln was assassinated, and where was the bank located? Because Washington is proximity to power. The bank was located across the street from the White House in what we call Treasury Annex building, across from the first federal building that ever existed, the U.S. Treasury building, which shares a lawn with the White House, I might add. For 150 years, it's been there, nobody knew it. I went back 3 years ago and got the Secretary of the Treasury to rename the Treasury Annex building, the Freedmen's Bank building. Look that up on your phone. Lincoln wanted to see his most important social experiment at work, the candles burning when he came home to the residence. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
Frederick Douglass took over the bank. Now you would say he's an abolitionist, and you would not be incorrect, but that's not his whole story. He was also a capitalist. He owned $6.5 million worth of real estate in 1865 in Baltimore, Maryland. It has a marker on it today if you go in for a tour. He rented this real estate out to working class blacks at an affordable rate. That gave him the financial freedom to be an abolitionist and a civil rights leader and a freedom fighter. You know, by the way, even if you want to distribute money like a socialist, you've got to first collect it like a capitalist. Am I talking to myself? Are you with me?
Yes.
So Frederick Douglass ran this bank, put $10,000 of his own money in this bank, which is $20 million today, knowing he wouldn't get it back. The bank fails on his watch. 73,000 depositors, $52 million in deposits, $100 billion of value today, making it one of the top 25 banks in the country today with not one more dime. And the bank failed because it was gamed by those that came after Abraham Lincoln. Fast forward now, 1874 to 1968. Here comes Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 1963, here comes LBJ. They work together on the war on poverty. They get distracted by the Vietnam War. Here comes Dr. King talking about war. Dr. King didn't say, I'm here to save black people. He said, I'm here to redeem the soul of America from the triple evils of war, racism, and poverty. He pursued racism, and we won that battle, I believe, largely. He pursued the Vietnam War, and we had a vibrant but important debate. The president's job was complicated. They disagreed without being disagreeable. Wish we could do that today. And then Dr. King pivoted to poverty. And before his first march, he was assassinated the same month as Abraham Lincoln, 100 years later, April 1968. Here's my point. It's not like black folks and brown folks got the memo on free enterprise and capitalism and ownership and opportunity, or poor white folks in rural America got the memo on free enterprise and screwed it up. We just never got the memo. Please put up the one slide I've got. Whatever you've been told about poverty is completely wrong. After sustenance poverty, which is a roof over your head, food on your table, and health care, sustenance poverty, every other form of poverty is mental and mindset. Let me test the theory. This is global, by the way, not here. Half of poverty, low self-esteem, and low confidence. If you don't know who you are by 9 in the morning, by dinner time, somebody's gonna tell you who you are. Imagine raising your children without confidence. Imagine training your dog without confidence. That little puppy that you love, oh, little puppy, he's peeing on the carpet, he's biting your furniture. Am I talking to myself? That even a puppy needs to know who the alpha is in the house. And until that puppy knows who the alpha is, he's gonna raise holy confidence and self-esteem. I'm doing this real quick because we don't have a lot of time. Role models in the environment, second part of poverty. By the way, confidence and low self-esteem was devastated by blacks in slavery. This is really important. If I don't like me, I'm not gonna like you. If I don't feel good about me, I'm not gonna feel good about you. If I don't love me, don't expect me to love you. If I don't respect me, I don't have a clue how to respect you. And here's the big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm gonna make your life a living hell. Whatever goes around,
Comes around.
The best thing my mother did to me was tell me she loved me every day of my life. I might have been broke, but I was never poor. Role models in environment. Do this real quick. Role models basically mean if all we see in your neighborhood as symbols of success are rap stars, athletes, and drug dealers, why is anybody surprised that kids grow up wanting to be a rap star? Nothing wrong with it. It's just not scalable. I can't scale Jay-Z. Jay-Z's fantastic, but he's a personality. He's a brand unto himself. It's 300 employees, that's it. I can't scale Beyonce. I can't scale Oprah, I love her, I can't scale her. There's nothing wrong with a track star or an athlete, but I can't scale LeBron. We want to be rap stars, athletes, and God forbid, drug dealers, because that's what we see. By the way, a drug dealer is immoral and unethical, but he's not dumb. That's basically an illegal, unethical entrepreneur. He understands import, export, finance, marketing, wholesale, retail, customer service, security, territory, and logistics. That drug dealer could be Steve Jobs. Sometimes you laugh because it is just too true. Environment. We don't have time, so I'm making this quick. Environment basically means if you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th. Which then leads to aspiration. Aspiration is a code word for hope. The most dangerous person in the world is a person with no hope. hope. So here's poverty, ladies and gentlemen. Crappy self-esteem and crappy confidence. Crappy role models, a crappy environment. I see the glass is half empty, not half full. I never leave my porch. Here's wealth, high self-esteem and high confidence. Great role models, an enabling environment. I see the glass is half full. I see opportunity everywhere. Please put down the slide. Now let me come to Austin. I took a tour of your city. Yesterday, I went to inner city Austin. By the way, let me remind you, in inner city in France, it's called Paris. Every inner city in America is a gold mine. It's centrally located real estate. Folks are tired of driving 2 hours to get home. Back to Austin. I went and took a tour. I saw Martin Luther King Boulevard. I saw Cesar Chavez, I believe it was Boulevard. I didn't see many blacks or many Hispanics anymore around those two boulevards. I see a neighborhood and neighborhoods flipping. And I'm not mad at the people who are coming in who see opportunity that others do not. They see centrally located real estate. Again, we don't have a lot of time for this. I'm just telling you what I see. But I can tell you something about what I see. And I'm gonna tell you what your credit score is in Austin. The average credit score for whites in Austin is 732. The average credit score for blacks, non-whites in Austin is 580. You didn't get that? There's another color here, and it's a number. Every problem in America is a 500 credit score neighborhood. So don't literally close your eyes, but close your spiritual eye for a minute and think about this. Whether it's white rural or black and brown urban, 500 credit score neighborhood, here's what you see. You test me if I'm incorrect. A check casher next to a payday loan lender, next to a rent-to-own store, next to a title lender, next to a pawn shop, next to a liquor store, and a church down the street trying to make it feel a little bit better once a week. That's called therapy. Again, am I talking to myself or can I get an amen? There's never been a riot in a 700 credit score neighborhood drop the mic. I'm gonna do this one more time. I'm killing it up here. You guys, I'm killing it. There's some coffee outside. There's never been a riot in a 700 credit score neighborhood in America's history of any race. Because 700 credit score neighborhoods don't riot, they go shopping. Two-parent households, stable communities, time for sitting with the child at night and doing homework, going on vacation once or twice a year, schools at work, tax base, home ownership, entrepreneurship, small business ownership. Nothing changes your life more than God or love than moving your credit score 120 points. At Operation Hope, we decided to finish what Abraham Lincoln started. Ambassador Andrew Young said that he and Dr. King and Vernon Jordan and so many other heroes and sheroes, and the ladies don't get the credit often for their contribution. Behind every successful man was an exhausted woman. Coretta Scott King, Jean Charles Young, etc. These heroes and sheroes. But Dr. King said we integrated the lunch counter, but we didn't integrate the dollar. Ambassador Andrew Young has said to live in a system of free enterprise and not to understand the rules of free enterprise must be the very definition of slavery. We're not dumb and we're not stupid. It's what we don't know that we don't know that's killing us, but we think we know. So I decided to finish what Abraham Lincoln started. I'm gonna open 1,000 Hope Inside locations, urban and rural, black and white, all the way up to working middle class, because if you're middle class today, you got too much month at the end of your money. Oh no, you're just all independently wealthy. That's it. Number one cause of divorce, money. Number one cause of domestic abuse, money. Number one reason why black and brown kids don't go to college. It's not academics, money. We can go on and on and on. It is like a burning bush sitting in the middle of our discourse that no one's paying any attention to whatsoever. So I decided to open these Hope Insides locations where we bank, where we flock, stop, and shop. I have 135 today. We're moving credit scores 120 points in 24 months, creating homeowners, entrepreneurs, small business owners. If civil rights was waged and won in the streets, it was about race and the color line. And thank you, Vernon Jordan, and everybody here who's done and made that possible. Then civil rights is about class and poverty. And if civil rights was in the streets, civil rights is in the suites. We've got a new movement here that adds on to the civil rights movement. I think today that the number one civil rights issue that needs to be an add-on to traditional civil rights is financial literacy for all. So I'm not gonna stop, I'm out of time. I'm not gonna stop until I spread free enterprise and opportunity and aspiration to all of God's children, to level the playing field, increase the peace by increasing, don't laugh, the credit score. It's not about the credit score. It's about economic energy. It's about optimism. It's about self-esteem. It's about confidence. It's about belief in yourself. And once you believe in yourself, my pastor, Reverend Murray, once told me, it's not what people call you. It's what you answer to that's important. And never, ever, ever answer out of your name. I'll leave you with two quotes. And by the way, we've invested through our partners $3 billion in 26 years in our neighborhoods. We have 4 million clients, 30,000 volunteers. We have orders for 350 locations on top of the 135 we already have. We're gonna become the Starbucks of financial inclusion. The guy who made this suit this is not a black suit, even though he was a black entrepreneur. It's a good suit. You can't be black for a living. You gotta be good at what you are, whatever you do, and be proud to be black, or proud to be Latino, or proud to be Indian, or proud to be Asian. But you've gotta contribute and you've gotta deliver. And I'm convinced that when the playing field is level and the rules are published, we excel. So I'm done. By the way, this guy, we gave him a $35,000 loan, raised his credit score 120 points, gave him a small business class, and he's doing $1.6 million every year for the last 10 years. That's handing out fishing poles. So as I leave you there, here's the question. What kind of bird do you want to be? There are 3 types of people like 3 types of birds. There are eagles, there are buzzards, and there are turkeys. Now, eagles don't fly in packs. You've never seen a flock of eagles. LBJ was an eagle. Dr. King was an eagle. Coretta Scott King was an eagle. You are eagles. Eagles don't fly in packs. Eagles even raise their children differently. The eagle's nest is made of sharp little twigs. Message. You start pushing up against the inside of that nest, you need to get up and go get a job. You cannot be 48 years old and living with your mama. Some of you didn't like that. There's a second kind of bird, buzzards. Buzzards love packs. Buzzards are low altitude birds. Buzzards are always stepping on your head to elevate themselves. Buzzards are always player hating, never player congratulating, always got something negative to say about somebody. Right now, somebody's saying something about me up here. I don't like the way he looks. We gotta become experts in what we are for, not what we are against. Complaining didn't pay one bill, didn't fund one mortgage. We have got to become PhDs and PhDs too. The worst kind of bird, though, is a turkey. Because a turkey's got wings and can't even fly. All they do is profile. Translation, trying to be something you are not. So here's my question to the LBJ legacy, to all the heroes and sheroes in this room, to my brother Mark Updegrove, who's so cool. He doesn't walk on water, but he knows where the stones are. Here's my question. What kind of bird do you want to be? Let's go fly.